Although I'm using Plaice today, which is this lovely, tasty flatfish, good sustainable choice. This will work for any of the smaller flatfish, lemon soles, flounders. There's multiple species. It's just a little idea, a little thing to play around with fish. I'm going to be mainly flavouring this with a Chinese 5-spice. Again, very distinctive flavour, a little bit of Szechuan pepper in there and so on. And a little bit of cabbage. Again, one of those great vegetables we probably don't use enough and use in enough different ways. I'm going to shred this very, very finely and very, very quickly stir fry it with a little bit of the Chinese 5-spice. For the sauce, what I'm going to use is some flat leaf parsley, very easy for her to get, and some hazelnuts. And I'm going to kind of make kind of a drizzle. So I'll dredge the place with a little bit of gram flour, just to kind of protect the meat a little bit. Very quickly sear it in the pan, but not actually cooking it. Put some of this little drizzle over it and finish it under the grill. Then with some little shredded cabbage. And this should be a really interesting, nice, and very fulfilling kind of a dish. But again, kind of using slightly different flavour profiles as well, because food can't get boring either. So I'll get on with the cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, in a bowl, I'm going to just make my little drizzle, give that a chance to infuse a bit. So I've got my hazelnuts here, which I've very roughly chopped up. I've used a roasted hazelnut, which has been skinned. You could use skins on, it doesn't really matter too much. You'll probably find, actually, it's probably better off leaving the skins off. I'm going to just pop those into the bowl. Flat leaf parsley, I'm using the stalks and all. If you're using the curly parsley, if that's all you can get, that'll be fine, but don't use the stalks. They tend to be a little bit tougher than on the flat leaf. But the flat leaf, very, very tasty little herb, kind of freshness to it. And I'm not going to chop that, I'm going to chop that very coarsely. Just mix that in with my hazelnuts. And then what I'm going to do is put about 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar in here, just to get away from the citrus fruits, to bring that acid into it, and a vinegar instead. Excuse me. And now I'm going to put about a tablespoon or a generous teaspoon of honey in there. Because now the honey with the vinegar will kind of give that kind of slight sweet and sour kind of taste. And just kind of mix those around there. And just a little drizzle of olive oil. About 30 ml, thereabouts. Which is kind of a tablespoon and a half. Mix all that together. I'm just going to let that little mixture just sit there and then get on with doing the other bits and pieces. For my cabbage, just discard any kind of slightly poor leaves on it. Just take out the centre stalk. And then just kind of fold up your leaves a little bit. And just take your time and give it a nice, good fine shredding. Just take your time with it, and then when that's all shredded, it'll be ready just to cook very, very quickly as it will stir fry. So I'll get on with the cooking there and just finish off my little bits of prep. You get the general idea, I think. So to cook this dish, first thing I do is preheat a good non-stick pan. About a teaspoon of coconut oil I'm using here. Again, that good, stable, saturated oil. It's good heat stable oil. The problem with most other oils, especially vegetable oils, they do tend to denature, and plus they're much higher in omega-6, so quite inflammatory. With my fish, I'm just going to take my nice little plate fillets, give it a light seasoning just before cooking. And then what I'm going to do is just to turn this off and just show you very quickly. Just before cooking, I'm going to just give it a light seasoning. And then I want to protect that fish, but I don't want to use flour. So a great thing to fry with is gram flour, which is a ground chickpea. Just going to sprinkle it over, kind of dab it over the fish, and it'll give a nice texture, but it'll also, very importantly, protect that fish. Do that at the very last minute so that it doesn't get all kind of mushy and sticky and all that. So, back onto the fish. So that's all you have to do to prepare your fish at this stage. And then at the same time, I'm just preheating a little pan to cook my cabbage in as well. So, on with the fish. Take it on the, just place it on the meat side, the skin side up. But when you're putting it on your pan, place it like this, so that any splash is going to go that direction. Don't just throw it in the pan, because, so in other words, kind of put it in a way that the splash moves away from you actually and not towards you. Now I'm conscious about omega-3 fatty acids in fish being quite heat sensitive. Don't forget, they damage very quickly. So all I'm going to do here is give a very, very quick sear on the fish, because I'm going to finish this under the grill. And that's again why I like to use the gram flour as well. It kind of protects that fish a little bit. So just flick it over. And now I'll just turn that off completely. Now if you remember that nice little hazelnut, parsley, and honey and rice wine vinegar drizzle. Now I'm going to just put that over the fish and kind of just press it in there a little bit. You'll find that the honey and the rice wine vinegar, especially if you use a good quality, get it in an Asian shop, not the kind of cheaper ones. Get a good quality rice wine vinegar. It's a tremendously versatile ingredient, and it's, for want of a better description, it's not very vinegary. It's more of a sweet kind of condiment, and really complementary with fish. Because sometimes we kind of get into the trap of bringing our acid to dishes like this and all this using lemon and kind of using very similar flavour profiles. So anyhow, there's my fish, and now I'm just going to put that under a grill and let that cook away while I finish my cabbage. That'll just take a couple of minutes there and let it get a little toasty. Do keep an eye on it as it's cooking. Now, I've preheated my pan, I just had it on another burner there. And for the cabbage then, again, about a teaspoonful of coconut oil. Swirl it around a little bit. And then I'm going to add in all my cabbage at the same time. A quick toss around. Little seasoning of some salt, maybe a little bit of pepper. And then my Chinese 5-spice, about a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice. Really lovely, interesting flavour. And as my fish is cooking now, I'm just going to mix all that around. And you get that very distinctive smell straight away from the Chinese 5-spice. Now, if you think your pan is a wee bit dry, trust me, it's not, but just kind of start off a little bit stir frying. But as I often said, stir frying isn't really about frying, it's about steaming. So we'll add a couple of tablespoons of water in there. And then cover up and let that on a nice high heat steam. Because that's what stir fry is all about. It's not a frying technique, really. It's using the wok. It's about getting a lid on there, getting moisture, and steaming the food at a very high temperature. And that locks in a lot of flavours and nutrients. It's a great technique. So let that cook away for a few minutes while your fish is grilling. So there's my cabbage. Just nice, quickly stir fried up. And then just your seasoning there. Maybe a pinch more salt, and then I'm just going to, at the very end, because I never want to overcook olive oil, just a little drizzle, about a tablespoon of olive oil, just to bring a little bit of life into it. So, that's my cabbage part of this dish done. Just going to put the lid on, let that just hold there for a second, and then, just turn that off. there's my fish. And you have this lovely, you see what the hazelnuts do is they bring a lovely crunch onto the dish. So, as you can see, that fish is just lovely cooked. It's nice and moist, it's just lightly cooked, and as it was grilling as well, that kind of topping protects the fish a little bit as well. So, the plate up, very, very simple. Let's just take a little bit of the cabbage. Again, this is something that you can eat plenty of without any kind of guilt at all. And then I'm just going to take a couple of my little Plaice fillets, place them atop the cabbage. And then at the very end, I've retained a little bit, I do retain a little bit of your little hazelnut drizzle, just to keep the freshness in there. And just a little bit in and around the plate as well, because you'll find that there's a lot of freshness and taste and interest in this. I just kept a little bit of parsley there just to finish with. And you can get the tiniest drizzle of olive oil just to finish it up. And that's it, our little Plaice cabbage, hazelnuts, nice and simple, nutritious and quite filling little dish as well.